to throw touchdowns, to throw completions. Like, you gonna get hit. You could be on top today and on bottom tomorrow, right? You got to take everything for what it is. You got to move with gratitude. 17, first game, I didn't get up.
What's up, everybody? It's Freddie Stevenson from Trials of Triumph. Man, I'm super excited about this episode. We have former FSU star quarterback Deondre Francois joining us in the studio. We'll talk about his journey, the rise, the fall, and ultimately where he is today. We hope that you guys enjoy it. Make sure to like and subscribe, because it's guaranteed to be a good one. Before we get into this episode, we would like to take the time out to thank our sponsor, the Craig Burke Real Estate Group, for supporting this episode and being continuous supporters of the pod. All right, shoot, man. I know we've been chopping it up for a minute. I'm glad to finally have you in the studio, bro. I appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro. I'm glad to be here, bro. I like what y'all got going on, bro. It's nice, for sure.
I've been watching everything you've been doing from afar, man. Like, I know as we grow up, we don't really get to, keep in touch with each other. We all live in our own lives, our separate lives. But, just watching the man that you're becoming is just a blessing to see. I know we don't encourage each other enough as men, but I'm proud of you. Like, first and foremost, before we get into anything, I got to say that.
For sure. I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I mean, we've been through a lot, even through growing up as a child at Florida State. We all went through a lot at the state, playing ball, the scrutiny, the good days, the bad days. So that life at the ball can get tough, so I appreciate that, bro.
Yes, sir. I guess we kind of start off there, just growing up, kind of talk about your upbringing. I know you got Haitian roots. You were born in Miami. Like, how was the childhood growing up?
Childhood was hectic, bro. It was tough, only because my mom was a single mom, young mom. She had me in her teenage years. And it was a lot of moving around. I was born in Miami, Carroll City, Jackson Memorial. Lived in Little Haiti for a little bit, moved to Miramar, and then eventually moved to Orlando, because at the time Orlando was pretty cheap compared to Miami. So, like I said, we was just looking for cheaper living. My mom had 5 kids at 22. Right now I'm about to be 28 and I only got 1. So I don't know how she did that, but it was tough. I had to be the man of the house at a young age, so that really made me grow up earlier than I wanted to. But now that I'm a grown man, it's kind of that childhood kind of prepped me for how hard life can be.
What was the difference for you, like you growing up in Miami or going to Orlando? What's like the culture? Because the culture completely different. For you, how was it adjusting early on?
Yeah, it was different at first. But throughout my childhood, I bounced back and forth. I'll be in Miami for a year, and then I'll be in Orlando for a year. I go back with my mom. She'll get her stuff together, and then she'll send us back with my grandparents while she, get more money or get a better job and stuff like that. So I bounced back and forth. So I pretty much got 2 sides of the spectrum. I mean, Miami was more gritty. It was more of, getting it out the mud. You got to get it. I gotta go to work today because I don't know what I'm gonna eat tonight. Orlando, I came to Orlando, and it was more scenery, because when I was in Miami, I was from over the bridge, so I didn't get to go to South Beach until I really got to college. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even know about South Beach and that lifestyle until I got older. But when I got to Orlando, it was beautiful. Like, the city of Orlando was beautiful. It was amusement parks. It was, different type of people, different type of ethnicities. Like, it was a good deal for real.
And early on, you talked about the struggles that y'all went through. Like, did you know that y'all were struggling? Like, because some people, they'll be struggling, but then everybody else around them struggling, so they don't really know that they were struggling until they get older.
Yeah, I for sure knew we were struggling. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. Some people don't really know the real struggle, but I knew. It was some nights we didn't know what we was gonna eat. I mean, I went to like 5 or 6 different elementary schools. You know what I'm saying? So that should tell you every time that lease was up, it was time to move. And then every time you moved, you in a new school district, so you got to go to a new school. So it kind of helped me out. I had a lot of friends. It helped my social skills. So as I got older, it was easy for me to make friends and talk to people. But it was definitely a struggle. 5 kids, 22 years old, no help. At the time, we didn't have no family in Orlando. My mom came out here on a leap of faith, and that's just what it was.
As far as the kids, where do you fall in the group?
Yeah, I'm the second oldest. I got an older sister, Rochelle. then it's me, then it's my younger brother Hartson, then it's my younger sister Destiny, and then it's my last little brother Kenson.
Okay.
So I'm the oldest boy. So my older sister, she's more of a loving, kind person. I'm more of the gritty, disciplined, hard work. So, you know, having a single mom, you know, I had to be that father figure for my little brother. So that's what it was.
You come to Orlando, you go to Olympia High School. Like, how was it? Talk about that time, you know, playing there, then your journey while you were there.
Oh, man, Olympia. It's a funny story because when I started at Olympia in 9th grade, I was actually going to stay in Little League for another year because you know how, you know, you can be in 9th grade but still play Little League ball.
How you feel? Well, we're not going to just skip past that because we've been seeing a whole lot of debates about kids still playing Little League when they in high school. Like, what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it, I mean, I feel like everything depends. Every question depends, and it all depends on how big that kid is and his development in the game.
Yeah.
Like, some kids are not ready for that high school ball, even though they're freshmen in high school. Some freshmen in high school today look like 6th graders. You know what I'm saying? And some freshmen in high school today look like they belong in college. Yeah. So why do those two players belong on the same field together? And it's just for that 9th grade year. Once you get in 10th grade, then obviously you're too old. But the point is, really, when I got to 9th grade, my mom felt like I wasn't ready for high school. But my mom, she really didn't know much, right, about sports. So I told my Little League coach, I'm going to come back for one more year. We're going to try to win the Little League championship for the Orlando Outlaws instead of going to high school. So I go out and I'm throwing the ball one day at Olympia, and Coach Colin Draft, he's the head coach at Nice now in Jacksonville. Shout out to Nice. They doing big things this season. Coach Draft seen me throwing the ball as a freshman, and he was like, "You're going to be my JV quarterback." And then from that point on, my career took off. That freshman year at Olympia, I played junior varsity, and I was also the backup on varsity, hoping the starter never got hurt because I wasn't ready for that fire back then. But yeah, I was a freshman on JV. I was starting, killing JV, and it was good for me to start on JV that 9th grade year because I got experience, bro. I got a chance to see how the game translate from Little League to high school. And then my 10th grade year at Olympia was when I became a starter, quarterback, and that gave me an opportunity to, you know, further my career.
Okay, and during your time when you played for Olympia, like how was the team? Were they solid? Like,
yeah, my 9th grade year, the varsity team was pretty good. My 10th grade year, we were really good, right? I remember we beat Apopka that year, right? Okay, that's when Apopka made it to the States and annihilated every team, right? I'm never gonna let that pass. That Apopka game was a great game, but we was good. My junior year, we got new coaches, all right? So Coach Drafts, Coach Head, Coach Bob Head, they all went to West Orange. So we got some coaches that came in, and, you know, it was just a different coaching style, and we weren't as good. Obviously, first year, you coming into a new program, it's going to be some bumps, you know, that you're going to have to go through. And we really didn't do good that year, but a lot came from that year because we ended up playing IMG Academy that year. And then that's how I ended up meeting Chris Winkie, and then eventually I ended up going to IMG Academy and then Florida State and so on. But we were pretty good my early years at Olympia, and we kind of got bad once we got new coaches because all the players started transferring out.
When you said you met Winkie, and then you ultimately decided to go to IMG. You know, kind of talk about that process. You know, transitioning to IMG. You know, one of the premier programs, and not just Florida but the country.
Yeah, one of the premier programs in the country. I was one of the first to do it. Right, I don't want to quote or sound like Soulja Boy, but I was really one of the first to do it, to step foot on that campus and really, you know, set a standard there. Like, when I got there, it was Bo Scarborough and Deondre Francois were two of the players that started IMG Academy. And I'm going to say that for the camera and for the people out there who didn't know. Right, Bo Scarborough and Deondre Francois were one of the two. It was plenty of other players, but we were one of the two big names that really opened doors for IMG Academy in the football aspect. All right, so my junior year, we play IMG at Olympia. They come down to play us. No one knows who this school is. No one ever heard of it. This was their first year having a football program when they came to play us. Chris Winkie was the head coach. They went and got Bo Scarborough from Alabama, brought him down to IMG. He was a big name, big recruit. They had this quarterback from Canada who was a big recruit at the time, and that's really all I knew. So they came to Orlando, and man, they looked like a college team getting off the bus. It looked like a college team. I remember we was all like, oh, bro, who is this team? Is this the all-star team? Everybody was confused, bro. But back then, we didn't really go in depth and do our research because we really didn't care. Like, today, if that was today, everybody would be searching for that team and looking up, like, you know, thinking it's a Bishop Sycamore type of situation, but IMG was the real deal. So they came and played us, and we played them good. They beat us, but we played them good, better than I thought. I really did good that game. I really went crazy. I went off for real. And that really opened up their eyes. And mind you, so I was telling you, we got these new coaches my junior year, so everybody was transferring out. So after the junior season, I was looking for another school to go to. I actually was trying to get into West Orange. I couldn't get into West Orange because they knew me and Coach Draft and Coach Head was like this. So OCPS was like, nah, we're not doing that. You can't go to that school. I tried out, and I was actually, for the record, I'm ashamed to say this, but I was actually going to transfer to Dr. Phillips, which was our rivals, who beat us every year, right? I completely hated them, but then at that point, I was like, I got to get out of here and
make a business.
Right, I got to Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do it for me and my family. Yeah. So I was gonna go to Dr. Phillips, but then out of nowhere, man, it was God. Somehow, me and IMG connected. And, you know, they were looking for a quarterback, and I was looking for somewhere to go. And it just happened. That's the way it happened, and I went there, and the rest was history.
You ended up becoming one of the top QBs in the country. Kind of walk us through your recruitment process and how you ultimately ended up at Florida State.
Yeah, man. Top QBs in the country. I remember being at Olympia 10th grade year, getting my first couple offers that spring, because that's when all the coaches usually would come and see the players. And I was like, oh, snap, right, I could really do this. And, you know, once you get that first offer, a lot of the other offers start rolling in. So I started getting more offers, but I wanted more. So I went and looked up, like, the top quarterbacks in the state. And I remember DeAndre Johnson was the top quarterback in the state out of Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. They had just won a state championship and all that. And I was like, I want to be number one quarterback in the state. Right, I want to be number one quarterback in the country, but before I do the country, I got to do the state. So I set some goals, and I was like, all right, bet I want to be number one quarterback in the state. I went to camps. I worked hard. I did whatever I had to do. Right, I still ain't had no money. It was through the grace of God that He got me to these camps, to these ESPN camps. My mom had no money. She still wasn't even showing up to these camps at the time. She still wasn't seeing how serious it was and what it could be. I was just, I had my goddad, Barry White. He was driving me everywhere, taking me places, and me and him always seen the vision. So I ended up being the number one quarterback in the state of Florida, right? At that point, I was at IMG, and I was, I think, number one in the country on Rivals or 247 or something like that, and then top 5 on the rest of the ESPNs and the rest of the, you know, scouting report things. And at that point, I had every offer from every school in the country that I wanted to. I was at IMG. Everybody thought I was going to pick Florida State because Chris Winkie won a Heisman there. He was my mentor and my head coach and someone that I looked up to. But he wasn't the reason I picked Florida State at all. The reason I picked Florida State was I just remember being in the Under Armour All-American game, and that was a big, big accomplishment for me because I remember watching it in 8th grade and like, dang, I got to get there, seeing Amari Cooper and the older guys. So when I got there, it was like a lot of Florida State commits. Mm-hmm. And just the camaraderie was just so strong, right? We was like Tribe 15. That's all I kept hearing. We had Derwin James, Jaquez Patrick, George Campbell, Tavares McFadden, AJ Westbrook, like so many names, so many big names. And Florida State had just came off a national championship, right? We felt like we was going to be that next class to do it, right? It was a strong class, and that's what kind of swayed me to go to Florida State. It was at home. I really don't like cold weather. My parents could come see me play, and it all made sense.
You got any like crazy like recruiting stories during your time?
Any crazy recruiting stories?
You hear all the stories come out now about the people, you know, NIL, you know, it's legal now. You hear all the stories about the money getting dropped. They're just, you know, crazy, you know, recruiting experiences.
Recruiting, not really. Recruiting, nah. I really don't have any recruiting stories because at that time, I remember, funny story, when I was in 10th grade, I wanted to go to Miami. Like, I was a Miami fan growing up. Now that's the most hated school by me. Like, I don't like Miami, but we both don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was my school, and at that time when I was coming out, they were under investigation for a lot. They was going through a lot, and no schools were really playing that role at that time. At least with me.
Yeah.
You know, I never came off as someone that wanted that type of stuff anyways. I was always that humble kid, so I never had that energy of give me something or I'm not coming here.
Yeah.
I was just thankful to be on a visit and get free food at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you come into Florida State, you redshirt your first year. Like, what's your thought process? A lot of players, they come in and early on, you know, we competitive. You want to play the first year.
No doubt.
So how are you feeling when you find out that you're being redshirted your first year at Florida State?
I was happy.
Okay.
I already knew. My mind was ahead of all my peers. I was looking ahead for the future. I already knew what time it was back then. Like, and I before going to Florida State, I looked at the pros and the cons, and I mapped out every situation and everything that could happen, and I made sure I was prepared for it. I knew already before committing there that Jimbo never starts a true freshman quarterback. I knew that Jameis redshirted. I knew Ponder redshirted. I knew EJ redshirted. I already knew that I was going to redshirt. I already knew that in order for me to be successful and start my career off right at Florida State, I needed to redshirt because the playbook was so complex. I didn't want to go out there not knowing what to do, you know what I'm saying, and embarrass myself and my family and my teammates. So I was happy. With the redshirt year was the best year of my life, besides 2016. But 2015, my redshirt year was. I encourage every player to redshirt if they need to, right? Or if the opportunity presents itself, it gives you an opportunity to get bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter. So when you do play, you hit the ground running.
That's a very mature answer. Because one thing a lot of people don't have in this world, you know, human beings, we don't practice, you know, delayed gratification. We want everything right now.
Right.
So to hear that you were that mature as a freshman, you know, of course I know you, but doing the interview, y'all don't know him. But nah, man, that's it's a testament to the work that, you know, you've done and in the way that you've been raised, man. But ultimately, you know, you go through the process, you develop, then that next year you get your opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, for the quarterback position, you have to redshirt. Like, especially if you're in the pro style offense. Now, if the offense is simplified and it's easy, and it's the same offense you ran in college and you've been running the spread all your life, okay. But in Jimbo's offense, it was so pro style and complex that you're gonna have to redshirt to learn the whole thing. But I redshirt. We go to the Chick-fil-A Bowl 2015. We play Houston. Greg Ward at quarterback.
Houston, got whooped.
Yeah, we got whooped by Houston. You know, and I remember Sean McGuire getting hurt. He hurt his ankle, and everybody looking at me. Well, they weren't looking at me, but J.J. Constantine went in. I'm name dropping, but it's all good. J.J. Constantine went in and, you know, shook up the place a little bit, and then everybody was like, we got to put Francois in if we want to win this game. I remember being on the sideline like, y'all chill. I ain't, you know, I'm not, you know how before a game you got to be in that mindset. I'm in bowl game mindset on the sideline like, yo, I'm not about to blow my red shirt for one little drive. Like, but I end up not getting in the game. Jimbo looked at me. I remember he looked at me and then he was just like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Because at that point, Houston kind of was putting it on us pretty bad. The game was kind of over. I wasn't going to come in the game and help us win. But that offseason, that's when I was really put my head down and really continue to work hard. And I knew I already told myself I was going to be the starter versus Ole Miss, even though Sean McGuire was coming back, rehabbing his ankle. I always told myself I was going to beat him out if he was 100%. Now that he hurt on a hurt ankle, it's definitely grits. It's my job. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to be the starter. And, you know, we battled it out, and I think he ended up getting hurt again in camp. And I ended up surpassing him and ended up becoming a starter. And then 2016, it was, you know, beautiful.
Come out in the Ole Miss game, they jump out on us.
Right. Yeah, they jumped out on us, man. It was just a surreal moment for me because that same stadium, Camping World, I played in that stadium as a child. And it was obviously called a Citrus Bowl back then, but it was like life was coming full circle, and it was happening fast. I'm like, oh, man, I'm playing the SEC team in my hometown. Like, they just redid the stadium, named it Camping World. Mm-hmm. All my teachers from middle school here, elementary school, all my friends. even the people that don't like me, they hear, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, bet, like, this is it. That first drive, I remember we took a shot, and I threw a deep ball to Kermit, and he ended up, and the DB that was guarding him ended up tearing his ACL. And then after that first play, I was like, oh man, it's real. It's getting real out here. Yeah. Like, you could get hurt. You got to, it's grown men. But everybody, was saying, oh, you had jitters. It wasn't so much jitters. It's just that's how it was supposed to happen. Like, it wasn't supposed to happen. I come out there just throwing dots, carving up the Ole Miss defense. That's not how it was supposed to happen. I was supposed to grow that game, and I grew a lot.
And we Florida State, everybody finna give us, the best game. So
exactly,
I think it showed more that you were able to overcome that adversity as a redshirt freshman.
Right.
Did you feel any extra pressure knowing, like, man, I'm at Florida State. Jameis just came from this school, and now there's a lot of eyes on me.
Yeah, I did. But it was good pressure though. It was the pressure that I wanted. It was all good. Like, it was cool. Like, that's why I went there, because of the job that Jimbo did with Jameis, right? The job that Jimbo did with EJ and Ponder and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, okay, cool. I want you to help me get to those same places and do the same for me.
This probably ain't a good thing, but ESPN had you as probably the toughest player in college football, but it wasn't a good reason behind it. We ain't do a good job of protecting you. This man was getting killed every game.
Yeah, not for sure.
As a quarterback, when you getting hit every single play, your protection isn't doing a good job of protecting you. How do you keep getting up? Not only getting up, but you leading your team to victories.
Right. Because it's a lot of different components to it, and I'm gonna always say depends on a lot of questions that you ask me, because that's my answer for every question. Yeah. But when you throwing touchdowns and you winning games and you being successful and you throwing completions and you moving the chains, none of that matters until you're not doing that, right? So if I'm taking a hit but I'm throwing a dot for a touchdown, we good. Let's go to the sideline. Da da da. And 16, that's all it was. It was take a big hit, throw a dot. Take a big hit, first down. Take a big hit. So the big hits kind of was like, ooh, everybody's seen them, but it's like, all right, next play.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, all right, big hit, third down, we're getting off the field. Mm-hmm. So that kind of like hit it a little bit, in a sense. And talking about like further years, like down the career and at Florida State, when I still didn't have protection, that's when things became magnified. Like, because we wasn't winning games, we wasn't moving the chains, and it was hard for people like to overlook that. But my take on that is that's the job that's required with the job, bro. Mm. Like, to throw touchdowns, to throw completions. Like, you gonna get hit. I hate these soft quarterbacks that be crying and I hate these bad roughing the passer calls. Now, some of them are good. Like, you hit somebody low, like, you can't do that. Yeah. Like, you hitting in the head, you can't do that. But other than that, like, you gonna get hit, bro. And it's like, that's just a part of the game. And I feel like that's what separates a lot of quarterbacks from the good quarterbacks. Because there's some quarterbacks that are talented, but they're not gonna stand in there and take one to the chin too many times. They might do it once or twice, but they're not gonna do it for a whole game and keep throwing dots, right? Because that takes courage.
We would like to thank Craig Burke Real Estate Group for sponsoring this episode of Trials of Triumph. Whether you're a first-time home buyer searching for your dream home, a seller aiming to maximize your home's equity, or an investor seeking a prime opportunity, partnering with a dedicated real estate professional can make all the difference. Your real estate goals are their top priority. The Craig Burke Real Estate Group is committed to providing unmatched customer service, and they are genuinely driven to help you achieve your property goals. As your go-to resource for all your real estate needs, they offer a proven marketing plan for sellers, ensuring that your property is widely promoted across major real estate platforms and paired with exceptional negotiation skills. For buyers, they diligently analyze the local markets and trends to help you find the perfect home at the right price. If you're looking for a positive and helpful partner ready to provide exceptional service, make sure to reach out to the Craig Burke Real Estate Group right now. I promise you, they will not disappoint. Yeah, fast. You had a good year that year. Then the first game of the next year against Bama, you had the injury that ended your season. Kind of walk us through that process, and not just the injury itself, but bouncing back mentally through that rehabilitation process.
Man, that was tough. Like we just said, 16, I was getting up from every hit, right? 17, first game, I didn't get up. And everybody was in shock because I was shocked. I'm tough as nails, bro. They had me convinced during the 16 off season that I was the toughest quarterback in the country too. I felt like I could run through a wall. I remember I was talking to like endorsement deals with Ford because I was built tough. I remember like all these crazy like meetings and stuff about toughness. And then 2017 came around and it was like, the balloon pops, like everything was like deflated. It was no more toughness. Like, it was a tough time in my life. It was like I couldn't be tough physically, so I had to be tough in other areas, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I thought I was tough, right? But I really wasn't. Like every part of me that I wasn't strong in or tough in got exposed. Like I was tough physically, but I wasn't tough mentally. I wasn't tough emotionally. I wasn't tough. I wasn't tough in the other ways other than physically. So it was like I had to figure out like who I wanted to be and where I wanted to do. Am I gonna sit here and let this injury take over my life? Because it was my first injury ever. So it was like a situation I didn't know how to adjust. I really didn't know how to approach it, but I had good people around me. My mom, the trainers at Florida State, and my teammates. They really the ones who got me through it, really, and most importantly, God.
Yeah, man, it was a tough year to watch, man. Of course, you got through the rehabilitation process, and then Jimbo ends up leaving, and now you got Taggart. Those are kind of the rough years of Florida State. Things were starting to go downhill and were all over the place.
Yeah.
And then eventually you end up in a situation where you're dismissed from the team. Could you kind of walk us through like that process? Going through those things behind the scenes, and then not necessarily knowing where your career stood at that point.
Yeah, for sure. So after Jimbo left, I remember Stan Wilcox, the AD. We was talking. Like, who gonna be the coach? Nobody knew, rumors. And I remember Taggart called me one day. I'm with Zaquandre White, and I think we was at Whataburger, and I get a call from Oregon number. And Coach Taggart called me, and he's like, yeah, man, da-da-da, telling me this good stuff. This is what I did with Quentin Flowers at USF. This is what I feel like we can do. I feel like you can be an extension of that. He was up for the Heisman. This was his numbers. I think you're better than Herbert. Got a stronger arm. You know what I'm saying? This is what we can do. So I'm like, oof, I'm getting hyped.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Black coach.
Yeah.
A little more personable, like a player's coach. And I was excited. So I text Stan one day. I was like, yeah, Taggart the guy. So if y'all want to blame me for that.
Blame him, man. Taggart doing the thing now, Baltimore balling, man.
Yeah, he ball in. Taggart is ball in. Shout out to Coach Taggart, man. He good
cool
guy.
dude.
Yeah, great guy.
Solid dude. He recruited me out of high school. I was playing linebacker at the time. He about had me ready to go to Western Kentucky. So I understand what you're saying, bro. Like, Coach Taggart, I understand. Like,
yeah, he a good guy, man. Great guy. But Taggart came in, and it was just when Taggart came in, it was just hard for him to implement who he was and what he wanted out of us, because we was so, I don't want to say brainwashed, but we was so stuck on Jimbo's system, because this was Jimbo's team. These weren't any of Taggart recruits. I think he brought a couple players with him, but majority of the team was Jimbo recruited. So it was hard for us to go from that grittiness to a new school of football that Taggart had brought in. Because, Jimbo is Bobby Bowden, Nick Saban type.
Yeah, old school.
While Taggart was more of a new school coach. And it was just hard for the team to really mesh. And we just had struggles. Like, on the offensive side of the ball, we had pro-style O-linemen, but we ran spread offenses. We had pro-style running backs running spread plays. Our receivers, like, it was hard for us to switch it up. Everything was different. It was literally night and day. So that's why, and that's usually how it is when new coaches come in sometimes, and it's cool. And that's, some schools give coaches more years than others, and some coaches really be successful and some don't. So that's what really took place when Tiger came in, and that's really why we had some of the lows that we had. And when we had some of those lows, right, that's when I got to a point in my life where I started surrounding myself with the wrong people, right? I started to hang out with some guys I wasn't supposed to be hanging out with. And a lot of that was through my recovery process. After that 17 injury, dealing with that injury through the whole 17 year, watching Blackman play, mentoring him, and then Jimbo leaving. So I get hurt, then Jimbo leaves. So it was just a world of emotions.
Yeah.
And at that time, life was moving so fast, and I couldn't really juggle all those emotions. So I started like outreaching to other sources that I shouldn't have reached out to, getting advice from people I shouldn't have been getting advice to. And I got myself in a little bit of trouble being around the wrong people. But I still ended up recovering from that 17 injury because it took almost a year, right? I ended up recovering from that 17 injury. Ended up not playing in the spring, but by the time the fall of 18 came, I ended up winning my starting spot back. That's when we opened up with Virginia Tech. Mind you, I wasn't even healthy that game. I wasn't healthy. I wasn't fully healed. That was just a dumb decision in me. Really practicing good enough and better than everybody else, so the coaches could think that I'm ready. But in the back of my head, I wasn't ready. I went out there and played poorly. Like, we all played poorly, and the scoreboard reflected that. So that season goes on. We end up, I don't remember what happened. I know we end up not making the bowl game, and the off season is there. So I'm like, okay, I'm recovered. All right, am I going to declare for the 19 draft, or am I going to come back to Florida State, right? What am I going to do? I'm in the midst of making that decision, and I decided I'm going to come back to Florida State, right? I decided I'm going to come back to Florida State, and then I end up getting in trouble and getting into situations that came up from years prior, like 17, 16, an argument with me and a friend came up, and she ended up posting an argument on Instagram. And that argument on Instagram, I said some malicious things that I should never said, right? But nothing had taken place, and that's why I was still able to play football. I was still able to be, graduate and do everything I needed to do before I left Florida State. So when that happened, it kind of put me in a hole, right? It kind of put me in a hole. It was February 2019, and Tiger had called me after he seen that and was like, you know what? I'm going to have to let you go. I'm going to have to dismiss you. And I remember being on the phone with Tiger, and I was like, it's all good. It's all good, because I already knew how it works, because it was either me or him.
Yeah.
Right? Coming off that type of season, not making a bowl game for the first time in 30, 60 years. I don't know what it was. So it was either me or him at that time. And obviously, it's going to be me. He's not going to put his back on the line for me, right?
Yeah.
And I always revert back to that situation because, like, if it was Jimbo, the outcome would have been different, right? Because while I was at Florida State, being a freshman, redshirt, I seen situations like mine, right, come up, and Jimbo really dissect the situation, figure out what's going on in the situation, and handle it the right way, as opposed to dismissing somebody or not really investigating what's going on, right? There was no investigating, there was nothing. It was just, yo, you done. And I knew that, and I knew it was gonna be like that because the season we just had, like, they was talking about firing Tiger, they was talking about all of this stuff, and it was just too chaotic for everything that was going on at that time. So the best thing for me to do at that point was to leave, right? So I just finished my degree. I graduated early, got out of Florida State. Obviously, I ended up not declaring for the draft because that situation happened. Came back home to Orlando, really dissected my life and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to play football at, and then ended up getting an opportunity to go play at Hampton.
And how was the process at Hampton? Like the transition for you, like physically, mentally, everything. It's a new shift in your life.
Yeah, it was definitely a new shift. It was a crazy shift, man, because at that time, like, public humility was the only thing on my mind because it was embarrassing to me. It was embarrassing to my family. All of these allegations, all of these lies, and it's tough when you got all of these allegations, but nothing is federal, nothing is legal. There's nothing legal going on. So I'm just walking in the streets looking like a criminal when I'm really not. So it was hard for me to go anywhere, especially in the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. So my first mindset was like, okay, I got to get out of Florida because it's chaotic. Everywhere I go, somebody recognizes Francois. I got a real recognizable face. I mean, I'm a black dude with ginger hair. Mm-hmm. You really don't see that every day. So when somebody see me, like, they either happy to see me or they either looking at me kind of sideways, right? But they really don't know the truth for anything that happened. But nobody cares about the truth. The only thing that's celebrated is the negativity. And I knew that at that age, so I was like, you know what? I got to get out of Florida. I got to go somewhere to where I can quiet my mind, get away from the chaos, get away from the fame. Because, like I said, negativity is celebrated. If you do something negative, you pretty much going to be famous. You're going to go viral. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get away from the fame, go somewhere where nobody knew who Francois was. Like, go somewhere where people call me Deondre. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I came back home, started the recruiting process, and I was looking at a couple of big schools, FAU, Louisiana, Arkansas, a couple big schools I was looking at. But then I was just weighing my options, and I was like, man, do I want to bring all this baggage to these big schools and really bring a lot of, could be negative light to their program? Mm-hmm. So I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go the HBCU route because it's, a little bit more relaxed. It's not on ESPN all the time. You don't got these big tailgates. You don't got these big boosters and all this stuff. So I was just like, you know what, let me go somewhere to where I could, feel at home, feel relaxed. And I visited a couple of HBCU schools, Alabama State. Mm-hmm. I visited Hampton, a couple of more schools. And when I got to Hampton, man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed my time. They showed me a good time. And that's ultimately how I ended up at Hampton.
Okay. So you have a solid year at Hampton. Of course, you don't end up with opportunity to go to the NFL. Mm-hmm. You have a process in between. You end up playing in fan control. Mm-hmm. XFL, UFL. We all had this dream to play at the big league, and then you're one of the top quarterbacks at one point in your career. Mm-hmm. Then a few things transpire. Mm-hmm. Is it crazy to you to see that shift and how fast things can change and how fast a narrative can switch?
It was crazy at that time, but it's not crazy to me anymore because I've been through it, and I understand that's how life go, right? Back then, I remember us being in college, and at those age years ago, we thought we was immortal, right? Me and Quez used to talk to each other, and we used to talk about who contract was gonna be bigger, and we just thought like it was it, like we good, no matter what, we good, like, and that just shows you that you could be on top today and on bottom tomorrow. Right, you got to take everything for what it is. You got to move with gratitude. Mm-hmm. You got to be humble. And coming into Florida State, I was the most humblest kid ever. And then Tallahassee turned me up to a point to where my life became uncontrollable, right? And I seen things unfolding that I couldn't control, and I knew it would mess me up. And then I tried to stop things before they happened. I tried to, and that made me learn, like, okay, no matter what's for you is gonna be for you. No matter what's gonna happen is gonna happen. Like, and yeah, I mean, I forgot your question, but
you good.
The end part.
But we the shift from Florida State, and ultimately, when you had to leave, you talked about a lot of bad relationships, and I guess this is the time because that's why I say I respect what you're doing, and I'm proud of you because. In these situations, you see so many people that'll blame everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And you nah, that's me. I got to wear that one.
Yeah.
And, even with the league, bro, this is a little bit different, but you see a lot of people that don't make it in the NFL. And I tell people when I come home, a lot of them that's come home saying politics, all these different things, 99% of them lying.
Right.
They wasn't. They was trash. I seen them getting cooked in practice.
Exactly.
But you got that 1%. It's like, yeah, it's real. Like, and I was one of the people that fell under that 1%, but I never make an excuse saying, nah, bro, I should have been better. I made it too close. And I think that's what life is as a man. You don't lose in life until you blame somebody else. You got to wear it. And that's why I respect what you're doing, man. Like, you taking everything in. God has woken you up every day, provided you with more opportunities. So whatever's happened in the past, it's a lesson. You can go win. That's why it's called trials of triumph.
Exactly.
Your past don't define you. You can still win. So I'm just happy to see the man that you turning into. But one thing, I use this as an opportunity to give the kids, to use some free game, like, because we all grow up with this dream to be successful, to change our families' lives. You talked about your mother. And then along the way, like, our environment, of course, it shapes us. And it's hard for a lot of us to disconnect ourselves with that. Like, we don't want to be the lame one that's kind of, I remember coming up, it was lame to get good grades in school and, stay locked in. It's like, bro, what?
Right.
You focus? You trying to change your family life? That's lame.
He want to be a nerd.
Yeah, but and it's hard for a lot of people to disconnect themselves and focus on their dream, and we can get wrapped up in that a lot of times. So for you, like, how important is it where you at now, and for these younger kids that are going to go through it, to disassociate yourself with anything that's not helping you get to that next level?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. It's very important. It's very important for the youth to start creating good habits now, because those are the habits that are going to come to the surface in a couple of years when life pressure comes, because the pressure going to come for everybody. Life is undefeated, right? Life is undefeated. You're going to go through something at some point in your life, and it's either going to make you or break you. So my advice is really to continue to have a battle plan for your life. Continue to have a battle plan for your life and know your why. Like, I knew my why, and that's what got me to Florida State. And then when I got there and I got all this fame and I got all this money, I had everything I wanted, a car, my own crib, I even bought a blue-nosed pit bull. I don't know what I was doing. Like, it was like I forgot my why. As soon as I forgot my why, I fell flat on my face, right? So just always have a why. Remember what you're doing, man. Remember why you're doing it. So
I will say, like, kind of the bill on that. You talked about the people that you turned to during that dark time of your life. But how many of people, when you was going through it and when you were trying to figure out things out the ball, how many of them same people reached out to you?
Ooh, man, I'm going through that right now, currently. Like, where my life is now, everybody that was there is not here. Everybody, literally. I've been in points, obviously now I'm well off, living better, but it got to points in my life where I needed $10 for some gas or some food, and I didn't know who to ask. But I know if I was in the NFL today, I could call somebody for $10, then they'll give it to me.
Yeah.
But right now, like, well, not now, but a few years ago, I was at a point to where, dang, where's everybody who was there? And nobody was there, and that was another lesson that life taught me that I needed to go through.
Yeah.
Everything I've been through, I needed to go through to be the man that I'm going to be in the future, right? So any loss I took, I just turned it into a W.
Yeah, the blessing I've understood, like, we all want the results, but I've realized that the blessing lies in the journey. Like, I'm not mad at anybody that snaked me along the way. Like, I feel like a lot of things that went wrong, they opened my eyes to so many other things. So when I walk into these rooms, it's like, all right, I can close these deals because I can see that shark over there. I can see that because I done dealt with them. And a lot of those things, man, we don't like it. It's uncomfortable, but growth is uncomfortable. And we don't realize, like, God's working on us. He's molding us. He's shaping us. And,
exactly, man,
it's just a blessing to watch, to be here with you, hear your growth, and just watch the journey from afar, man. Seeing you now, you said you're a father, man, and now you grinding for somebody outside of you, bro. So you've always been mature, but now it goes to a whole different level. But now, you're retired from the game, and now you're an entrepreneur. Like, what's next for Deondre Francois? Like, the story, you start off, people expect you to be this NFL guy, and a lot of people from our environments, that's all they truly care about. But then there's life after ball. What does life after ball at this point in your life look like for you?
Yeah, life after ball. I recently had this conversation with myself the past year or so, because I just retired from the UFL, playing with the DC Defenders. So I had to have this conversation and kind of figure it out because I've been playing football since 5, tackle since 7 or 8. I'm about to be 28, so that's 20 years of ball nonstop every year, nonstop training. So my mind has been programmed on that forever. Mm-hmm. So how do I go from that to just jump into another field or jump into another career? Because at the end of the day, I got my degree, I got 2 degrees, but it's like the world is changing, right? You don't need a degree to be wealthy anymore. Like, you know, you need a master's, like, to even get into the room and have a conversation or to even bring up school. Nobody cares about your little bachelor's. Like, that's just not it anymore. Yeah. That's just what it is. So, for me, really, I got a 2-year-old son, and he's my main focus, right? And it's all about personal development for me. So I want to spread that to the youth. I want to spread that to the youth around Orlando, the youth around the country, to really focus on personal development as a young man, because that's what's going to sprout you to be that upstanding guy when you get my age and further. Always keeping God first, working in my journey with the Lord, working in my walk with the Lord, going to Bible study every week, and then really setting goals for myself, short-term and long-term, that's attainable. I'm in the financial service industry now. I never thought I would be, right? But I love it. After taking the helmet off, because someday we got to take it off. So after taking the helmet off, I really didn't understand what to do or what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to clock into a job because I never had did that before. So I'm not about to just do that. You know what I'm saying? So I really had to navigate and figure out what's something that can, what's something that can work towards my personal development and also, fund my life. And the financial service was a great service for that because I can run my own practice. I have my own hours, run my own meetings, but I also have a group of people that's above me that I can go to with over 60, 70, 80 years of experience in this business. And it gives me an opportunity to educate my family. Like, I'm so passionate in it now because I've been in it for a year and I've learned so much that I didn't know before, that no one taught me in school. They didn't teach me in elementary, middle, high school, or college about finances. And it's like now that I'm getting into the real world and I'm teaching myself, it's becoming apparent to me that a lot of my friends and family have financial questions, but they just don't know who to go to and really, most importantly, who to trust. So once I realized that, it was like, okay, this is my calling. Because for one, I need to educate myself about my own finances. And that's the only way I'm going to be able to create that path line of generational wealth down from generation to generation. Because my parents didn't teach me and their parents didn't teach them, who's going to teach my child and who's going to teach his kids? And we'll always be in that rabbit hole of paycheck to paycheck. So once I had that conversation with myself, it was obvious to me that this is what I need to do. This is the way I can give back. And now I'm doing mentorships with young men around Orlando, giving them my number, FaceTiming, meeting up, having lunch, and just talking. Because at the end of the day, most men, and I know this from prior experience, it was times in my life I just needed someone to talk to. Like literally, someone I can call to just talk to. And it was points in my life I had nobody to talk to. Deondre Francois, I have no one to call. And you'd be surprised how many young men really go through that. And growing up, I didn't believe in mental health. And I got Haitian parents. Like, coming from Haiti, my family come from Haiti. We don't know what mental health is. Like, the islands, we don't. Yeah. I didn't learn about that until I got to the States. And that's real. Like, mental health is real. So I'm an advocate for it. I'm an advocate for the young men out here who need somebody to talk to in tough times. And even if it's not tough times, bro, I got so much knowledge. Even though I'm young, I know a lot of stuff because of what I've been through. And that's really what's to come from Deondre Francois. Continuing to educate the youth about their finances, about budgeting, about how to grow and protect their money. If I knew what I knew now, 3 years ago, I would be well off much further than I am now. If I knew what I knew now when I was at Florida State, I'll have $1 million. Yeah. And I'll be able to teach my peers exactly what I did, because they're financial secrets that the rich tell the rich, that the rich tell the wealthy, right? That middle class tell other middle class to help them be better. But most people don't know who to talk to and who to sit down to sit down with.
Man, shoot, man. That being said, man, I know we running short on time. You got to get back, and I appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate where you at in your journey. Just, holding yourself accountable and continuing to grow. And I truly believe, like, I'm a firm believer that, while God has his hands on every single one of us, there's some people that he's gifted in, areas that other people don't have those gifts. And I've seen it from day one. You're one of those people that he has his hand on, but you're going to be successful no matter what you do. And I truly believe that this season of your life, this next season of your life, you're going to 10x anything you would have did on the football field. So continue to stay encouraged and know that greater is coming. And that's not just financially, even though I know that God's going to bless you financially, but you talked about the impact that you're going to make. You're going to impact lives, not just in the country, across the world. A lot of them lessons that you learned along the way, and you've taken them to the chin and grown from them, it's going to be the reason that you continue to impact lives. You're not just going to be mentoring the youth. You're going to be speaking at conferences across the world. Amen. So I say that to you, encouraging you, keep going, man. I done seen it. It's in you. When I talk about getting hit and getting up, that's life.
Exactly.
And I ain't seen nobody do it better than you.
For sure.
So keep doing that.
I appreciate
in this next phase of your life, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Man, that was a crazy episode. Just knowing Deondre, watching him grow and seeing who he was then and the person that he's developed into now, I'm proud of him. Like, just seeing it and experiencing it in real time, you just see it. Like, he's at peace and he's growing. And I didn't really know what to expect because he's been through so much. Like, at one point in his career, he was one of the top players in college football. And then you just seen everything just kind of tumble and fall. And he never got the opportunity to live out his NFL dream. So to see him at peace is dope to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful hearing him talk more in depth about his journey. He was the first, quarterback that I kind of followed that went through that kind of journey, specifically in the college football. I didn't watch a lot of college football growing up, so moving to Florida and watching this Florida State team that was like the 2016 team, where he's just balling out, and then seeing, the injury and seeing how it kind of affected his career trajectory, was like the first time that I'd seen, that side of football.
Yeah.
And so it was wonderful hearing him kind of talk about, his resilience and how he's really, fine tuning who he is as a man, and who he wants to be. I think the thing that I really took from it was the find your why portion, where it's, he took him a little bit longer to find his why because he thought his why was football for the longest time. And
a lot of people do, man.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you've got a great perspective for that too, because it's, every athlete who has gotten to that highest level, whether it be college or pros, they've got even if they're Tom Brady, they've got a moment where they can't play anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like that's something you guys all share, where it's a blessing and a curse, where you've had all these cool opportunities, and then you have to figure out your next step. I mean, I think everybody's experiences that in some way, but athletes have like a very quick, almost metamorphosis. And hearing someone like Deondre, who had all of this stuff happen to him between injury and other stuff, and now he's just like, he's just got a great perspective.
Yeah, that was the dopest part for me, because you see so many people, like even to this day, I got former teammates or people that I've, played against, and they're still blaming other people for what went wrong. And it's like, yeah, you may have gotten screwed over, but at the end of the day, like, you have to move forward at some point in your life. Like, that was a lesson. So the fact that he's able to take all of that on the chin and move forward, that was dope to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's very easy to play the blame game, specifically in athletics. And yeah, seeing him kind of move forward and realize that, like, it's just part of the plan, was very refreshing. Kind of transitioning in football, talking about almost like the opposite of that spectrum, the NIL space.
Yeah.
I know you've seen the Nico I Am Aliva stuff.
It's been crazy. And part of it, I feel like, to blame, there are a lot of factors we're going to get into, but it's like in the NFL contract market. You see guys, a receiver getting a huge contract, and all of a sudden you want money. And I think he was looking at that Carson Beck situation, part of it, and wanting more money, but it's different, like, in a way, because I think Miami Cristobal is desperate for a championship. Mm-hmm. He thought he was going to get one last year with Cam Ward, and he didn't get it. They didn't even get into the playoffs. And now he's desperate, like, so they may have overpaid for a guy. We'll see what they get. Yeah. And Nico's put himself in a situation now. It's kind of crazy. Like, you're hearing reports that I guess he was going to hold out last year before the playoffs.
I mean, hearing that, and then hearing the fact that, like, he's thinking about just not playing. I'm like, that's crazy. I understand. We're in an athlete empowerment era, which is perfect. Like, I love that, but it's. There's a certain sacred side of, like, playing college sports and college athletics. And, I mean, basketball's kind of swung in the complete opposite direction. It would kind of be disheartening to see college football turn into that. I think he'll end up playing next year. Obviously not for Tennessee, but
my advice to him, what they would always tell us in the league is once those checks stop coming, they stop coming. So you got an opportunity. The money is a big issue. I don't know who was on this side pushing this, his team, parents, I don't know. Mm. But you wanted more money. Teams aren't going to give you that money now. Now teams are trying to get a deal for you. You're not even getting the $4 million you're looking for. You're not even getting the $2 million that you're getting anymore. But one thing for sure, don't put yourself in a situation where you don't have any opportunities on the table. Like, you got an opportunity to take advantage of your talents, your ability, like, make the most of it, because there's no guarantees after college.
Yeah. No, 100%. And football's a ruthless sport. I mean, it. Like, it's... If you would have told me that Nico entered the transfer portal, I would have thought that he would have had a million offers. And it's sounding like he doesn't. Like, it's sounding like University of North Carolina, Bill Belichick's place, isn't even thinking about it. He's like, no. And that shows a lot, because it's like UNC is not a big program. They've got enough backing now because of the Belichick stuff, and they want to be good. But the fact that he's not even thinking about it, like, proves that, like, he's kind of this whole interaction sort of sullied his name. Like, it's made it very hard for people to, like, picture him as the leader of an organization.
Yeah, and I think he's gotta be the example for like, man, you got all these guys during the year. You see it every year. You saw it with a lot of guys last year at Florida State. They're demanding all of these, and you're gonna see it at every school. But the guys that are worth it, they're gonna get their money. But eventually, when you play that game, you're gonna run into somebody that's not willing to pay you. And I feel like now with these guys, like, especially a situation where you're hearing stories about your leader trying to pull out of the playoffs, I think you may have some teams, like, that are kind of working with each other. Like, hey, we gotta put a stop to this somehow.
Yeah,
and that's why I think you don't see any teams jumping on them. Like,
no, well, and Tennessee's a premier program.
Yeah,
like, it's like if you're in an SEC school and you're the starting quarterback, like, how insane is the conversation about money that you decide that you're not going to play there anymore? I mean, obviously, I know the coach was like, "Hey, we're out of the Nico I'm going to leave a business," but it's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah,
seeing what's going through his mind. He didn't have a great year last year. He wasn't awful, but he wasn't, like, the best. So it's a very interesting. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how it affects his draft stock next year, because, I mean, he was probably penciled in to be, like, this first or second quarterback, depending on Arch Manning's, availability, and how he plays this year. But kind of transitioning within that, the draft. We have the draft next week. We've got a great episode next week with someone who was drafted, and he's got a really cool perspective on the draft process. But I wanted to kind of hear your perspective on the draft process. Obviously, you went undrafted, and you had your opportunity. in the NFL. But being a premier player, helping with those insane Dalvin Cook seasons, you know, what was draft day like for you? Was there a situation where you knew that you were going to be an undrafted guy, or did you think that at one point you were going to be in the earlier days of the draft?
Yeah, I had teams reaching out to me early in the draft. I had 2 call me on day 1, and that was kind of weird because I knew I was going to be a day 3 guy. So hold on, like, well, you're like, all right, am I going to wake myself up a little? Like, they don't draft fullbacks this early anymore. But yeah, I knew I was going to be a day 3 guy. Like, most teams were telling me 4th or 5th round. And then as we got on through the process, it's like, yo, I thought I would have been gone by now. And then I ended up not going. And I truly believe me getting red flagged at the combine killed my stock. Because I was, even like on all the sites, not that it matters, like NFL.com, like all these sites, I'm projected 4th round.
Yeah.
And like once I got red flagged and the doctor told them I wasn't worth the draft pick as a fullback, so that, I believe that killed me.
Yeah, tanks the stock.
Yeah, it tanked it bad. But because literally when teams were using their last draft picks, like in the 6th round, and some of them used their last ones in the 5th, they're all calling me early, like, yeah, we think you're going to get drafted, but if you don't, we want you. So it's like, okay, you're good, but we weren't going to use a draft pick on you because we just don't know, like, with this leg situation. Yeah. So you just never know, man. Some guys can go early. You're going to see some guys that show up for the draft and they're there the first day, and some of those guys may not get drafted to the 3rd round. Like, you just don't know with the draft.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of an insane. We've got so many narratives this year too of players, you know, either being in a weird measurement spot or having like the injury stuff. I mean, specifically like Will Campbell, you know, with his arms being like a half an inch short. Yeah, which, I mean, I understand. When there's trends, you know, you don't want to go outside of those trends. You know, there's never been a starting offensive tackle that has had those measurements. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's a football player. Same thing with Willie Lampkin, you know, Lakeland guy.
Well, that's one of my favorite guys in the draft, Willie Lampkin, man.
Oh, yeah. And he's one of those, he's just a worker. You know, he's a grinder. And, I mean, local dude, really, really cool guy. You know, he's going to be drafted at some point, most likely, and it's just whether or not someone wants to take a chance on his measurements. But I mean, he's one of those dudes that's just like, he's a football guy.
Yeah, if he was a few inches taller, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The conversation would flip to, does he go top 15? Because he's been that good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was ACC blocker of the year. You know, he I don't know if he let a sack up. He might have.
Yeah, I don't think he allowed a sack all season. And I might have seen a report where he didn't allow one for 2 seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, and that's the thing is like you've got all these. I mean, then you got Will Campbell, who's like he's like a star tackle in college, you know, and then he just doesn't have the arm length. It's just it's crazy like how all of this draft buzz, like the combine measurements, just kind of like gets the nitty gritty. I mean, thinking about my team, you know, the Patriots, like what they're gonna do. I'm obviously like I'd love to have like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, but
everybody would, man.
Exactly. Those are like 2 of the biggest difference makers. We don't need a quarterback, but it's looking like we'll have to go. You know, that Mason Graham, Will Campbell, you know, one of the receivers, which is, I mean, that's great. You know, it's a good problem to have, but also, with the measurement stuff, you don't know if it's going to be a problem or not. You know, if we draft a dude who's got slightly shorter arms, is he going to be able to play?
Yeah. Then the draft, it's all about mind games. These teams are playing mind games with each other. One team's trying to kill a guy's stock so he can fall right into their lap. So you just never know on draft day.
Exactly. I mean, I was listening to a podcast this morning specifically talking about like defensive ends in the draft, and they said that there's like 6 deep, where it's like the 6, they could see 6 defensive ends going in the 1st round. But it all was completely dependent on the team. You know, the team that drafted them, because there's like certain people who are like, well, we just want the gritty dude who will just go, you know. And then there's certain teams that are like, well, we want like a 5-tool guy that can, you know, he can come off with speed, he can come off with power, you know, he has elite moves, and that's their evaluation process. And if they don't get that kind of guy, they're not going to draft one. It's just such an interesting. The draft process, the combine process, is such a wild world.
It's wild, man.
Oh, the Walt Press Tour.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about how crazy it's been. You know, obviously, like Walt's one of our guys. You know, we love him, and watching him win that national championship was insane. And then now we're seeing him on like First Take and the Today Show.
Yeah. Walt deserves it, man.
Oh yeah, and the new mock draft's coming out too. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
I've seen somebody had him projected going 12th.
Yeah,
12th overall. Yeah.
I'm seeing him sneak more and more into that lottery pick.
Okay.
Which is wonderful. I mean, we talked a little bit about it last time, but there's a stigma about these older guards, you know, and I don't think there should be for someone like Walt. You know, he's a natural born leader. He's not going to get in trouble.
You look at Walt just. Across the board, the older guards, that's cool to have that stigma when they've maxed out. Like, that hasn't happened with Walt. We've seen him from his freshman year on get tremendously better every single year. And from his junior year to his senior year, he took a huge step up. I'm expecting him to get even better next year because I know the work that he puts in. So you don't have that issue with a guy like Walt.
No. And I mean, you see, too, like, two different systems in his college career. You know, he's thrived in both. He's made his own little niche in each one. I think. Obviously, it all depends on scheme and any sport you get drafted in. But I think that he's one of those dudes that he'll make it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Work.
No doubt in my mind.
He's just one of those guys. We talked about it a little bit last time.
Yeah.
You know, but you had your birthday last weekend, and the only thing you wanted was for your daughter to win her soccer game. And you posted on Instagram. I think I texted you right after I saw it because I was like, "That's insane." But if you want to talk about it a little bit,
yeah. So I got that, and then my weekend ended up a lot better than I thought. So my daughter, they were going against the number 1 seed. They were the bottom seed in the playoffs. They start off the game losing 3-0. She goes on the run, scores 4 straight, and then the team comes back and they tie the game. It's 4-4. And it's like, I believe like a minute left in the game. We're telling like, because we know she gets gassed at the end of the game. Like, she's the best player on the team. She does a lot. Like, you got to score here right now. It's going to overtime. Like, you want to play in the championship next week. So it's like, I only got to score one more. Grabs the ball. Like, I don't know what got into her. Hits this move, takes the ball, goes on the run, runs around the defender, and it was like an epic score. Like, I got to show you the video, man. It was crazy. I was so excited for her. She got MVP of the spring. Like, they give them
That's wonderful.
They give them the awards the week before the championship because they don't know who's going to make it. Like, and she got MVP of the spring. So next week they're playing for it all. You know. But then, you know, I'm just thinking I'm going out to eat because it's my birthday with my wife. And she tells me, like, we're going to Texas Day, Brazil, and I found out we're going at 7:30, but we're going in Orlando. And I hate going to Orlando because of the traffic. I hate it. So I'm like, yo, why didn't you go to the one in Tampa? Like, I'm already upset. I'm like, yo, I hate going to Orlando. Traffic, like, it's already going to be an extra drive, like 2 hours. And she was like, oh, well, it was already booked, so I just wanted to take you here. So then we get up there, and she's like, okay, let's stop at Dave & Buster's for a while because they got all this stuff going on, and they say we can't enter early for our reservation. I'm like, I don't want to go to Dave & Buster's. Like, this, like, you got all these young kids around here. I don't want to be around all these young kids. They already over here tripping. So I'm already frustrated and stuff like that. And I didn't know she was planning a surprise birthday party. And if you know anything about surprise birthday parties, you know you planned a good one once the birthday guest is frustrated and mad. And I'm the person that always said nobody would ever be able to get me with a surprise because I pay attention to too much stuff. Yeah. But all of this stuff lined up with, like, her tendencies. Like, she's known to go eat later. I'm the guy that eats at 5:30 for dinner. She's the 7:30, 8 o'clock. But I just hated the fact that we were in Orlando. Yeah. So it wasn't any red flags that, like, pointed to a surprise. And then I get there to Texas Day, Brazil, and all my friends are walking in that I haven't seen in a while. My family's coming in, and I felt so dumb. I'm like, dang, they got me, man. But she did a good job.
That's wonderful. Yeah, surprise birthday parties are always so hard to execute. My fiance is she always wants a surprise birthday party, and I'm always terrible at like figuring out how to plan a surprise birthday party. So maybe someday I'll get her. But
it's definitely tough. I gotta get it back. I gotta be very crafty with how I do it. And I know she's gonna watch this, so she's gonna be on the lookout for it. So I really gotta be on point.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do something crazy. Pull out all the stops. But yeah, no, I mean it was crazy. It was that sounds like the best, birthday present possible is, your daughter, just kind of going hard, and then you have like a nice birthday party with your friends and family. I went to Miami like we talked about last week, and I did the UFC fights, and it was insane.
Man, it looked crazy.
It was the most insane crowd I've ever been a part of, and we went down like a day early. So we ended up going like the Marlins Stadium, like checking out that. That was the coolest stadium I've been to. Met a couple fighters. We did like meet and greets. We met like Justin Gaethje and Kayla Harrison. So like, that was pretty cool. And the fights were great.
Yeah.
And it was all the outcomes that I really wanted. Patty Pimblett won, and Volk won, which was great. I kind of thought Lopez might have an upper hand, but Volk's just he's one of those dudes. But yeah, do you have any big plans for this weekend?
I mean, we got my daughter, they're playing in their championship, so playing for it all, and then my mother, she has a book signing on Saturday. So she'll launch her first book on Saturday. So it'll be another eventful. These next few weeks are gonna be crazy for me, man.
Yeah,
got a lot to do, but yeah, looking forward to it.
But all good things. That's good. Yeah. I don't think I'm doing anything too crazy this weekend besides like maybe relaxing a little bit, just because the last week's been nuts.
Grinding, man.
I mean, and then that kind of leads to this episode. Next episode, Ventrell Miller. He talks a little bit about his experience. He was in a similar situation, where he got injured a decent amount. I don't think he was red flagged because they were, pretty common injuries.
Yeah.
Whether it be like a foot fracture or something like that. But his episode is wonderful. I was rewatching it this week. And he's just a cool dude.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about this one, man. Ventrell just battling through all the injuries, and man, he didn't perform at the combine or his pro day, and he still got drafted 4th round. So you can only imagine how early he would have went if he was able to perform and do those things. Because the only red flag next to him is this guy going to be ready? Is he injury prone? Other than that, like his production in college was through the roof. So I'm excited about it.
And he played for some great teams. I mean, and it kind of proves like, you can get these guys in any part of the draft. He a 4th rounder. He had such a big impact last year. They weren't an amazing team, but he had some amazing plays.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And it's a very interesting. Again, it's just a very interesting podcast, just because you hear his perspective on playing through injury and
combine, all these we talk about it, the draft, all these crazy stories, and he gives us the behind the scenes that you don't get from a lot of players. Yeah, of course, once again, I want to say thank you to the sponsors that make this possible. Concord Coffee, Indie Atlantic Films, and of course the Craig Burke Real Estate Group. The support, man, I'm telling you, like second to none, and we wouldn't be able to do this without their support.
Yeah, we got a great group. Super excited for next week's episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow us everywhere. We're going to keep coming out with great episodes.
See y'all next week.